I can't believe I'm with you again.
But you are. Happy?
Yes.
Personally, I'm delirious.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most underrated, overlooked, or relatively unknown performances from old Hollywood stars.
Marcia, you just wait and see. I'm gonna be the power behind the president, and you'll be the power behind me.
Number 10, Barbara Stanwyck, Remember the Night. You've likely seen Barbara Stanwyck and Fred MacMurray burn up the screen in Double Indemnity. But 4 years before, the iconic pair starred in a lesser-seen film called Remember the Night.
I suppose you do this with all the lady prisoners?
Oh, my, yes. My life is just one long round of whoopee.
You're in a good spot for it.
Wonderful. I merely have to raise my finger and my slightest whim is satisfied. Now, if you...
And I suppose if anybody says no, you just put them right back in the cooler.
That's right.
The romantic comedy follows a thief, played by Stanwyck, and the lawyer tasked with putting her away, portrayed by MacMurray. Both actors are amazing in the movie, but Stanwyck is particularly unbelievable.
It's better than going to jail, isn't it? I told you my mind worked differently.
Do you realize that house is probably in flames a mile high?
Hope it is.
Well, so do I, but what's that got to do with the morals of the case?
What have morals got to do with it?
Her comedic energy with MacMurray foreshadows the sexual chemistry the two would have years later in their more famous motion picture. The differences between the films also serve to showcase just what a versatile actress Stanwyck was.
Maybe you're a kleptomaniac.
Oh, no. No, they tried that, though. No, you see, to be a kleptomaniac, you can't sell any of the stuff afterwards or you lose your amateur stint.
Number 9, Joan Fontaine, Letter from an Unknown Woman.
Why do you like to climb mountains?
Oh, I suppose because no matter how high you climb, there's always a higher one.
And you like to imagine that the other one's even more wonderful, like Spring the Park.
Now, you know far too much about me already, and I know almost nothing about you, huh?
Though recently screened at the 2021 Cannes Film Festival, Letter from an Unknown Woman wasn't as well thought of as it is now during its initial release. Even with its retrospective popularity today, the central performance from Joan Fontaine still doesn't get as much credit as it deserves.
I've seen you somewhere. I know. I followed you upstairs and watched you in your box, but I couldn't place you.
Far better known for her performances in films like Rebecca and Suspicion, Fontaine shows off her period piece skills in Max Ophuls' masterpiece. Her dramatic chops are a sight to behold, and it's a wonder she didn't receive another Oscar win or nomination for the wonderful performance.
Well, I suppose you won't believe me, but I couldn't get you out of my mind all day.
No, I don't believe you.
Number 8, Robert Mitchum, The Lusty Men.
Hasta luego. That's Spanish for if the shower don't work, call McLeod.
Famous for embodying the persona of the anti-hero, Robert Mitchum was one of the most well-known film noir stars of his era. So when most people are exploring his filmography today, they probably aren't focusing on the time he took the role of a down-and-out rodeo star in 1952's The Lusty Men.
He puts on his own pants, he buttons his own shirt. If he knows how to do that, he ought to know enough to run his own life.
Just as he did in his noir films, Mitchum threw himself wholeheartedly into the role, and it shows on camera. As Jeff McLeod, he feels like a true blue Western star. He doesn't leave the anti-hero stuff completely behind, but there's also an uprightness to his performance that gets a chance to shine.
Wes is good, he'll make a pot full of money.
Of which you'll take care.
Which will still leave him more than he'll make here if he works the rest of his life. I just want to see one guy in this world get what he wants, that's all.
Number 7, Rock Hudson, Written on the Wind. Rock Hudson was respected for his partnership with director Douglas Sirk. The pair made multiple films together, arguably the most well-regarded of which is All That Heaven Allows. But today, we'd like to focus on a different collaboration, Written on the Wind.
Long time ago. I was an idiot boy then.
It was wildly popular at the time, and still has its fans today. But compared to some of Hudson and Sirk's other movies, it's not quite as remembered.
Keep it quiet if you can. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Hudson portrays a man who ends up mixed up in a love triangle of sorts, and mired in the troubles of a Texas oil family. It's Southern Gothic at its finest, and Hudson plays it perfectly.
I can think of much better things than making smart talk.
Let's dance.
Number 6, Ginger Rogers, Kitty Foyle.
Must be wonderful, Pop. You know, after you've been sitting in ashes all of your life, and then suddenly a prince comes
And
along.
when did you sit in any ashes?
I don't mean me.
Today, Ginger Rogers is best remembered for her number of collaborations with Fred Astaire. The pairing of Astaire and Rogers is almost synonymous with classic Hollywood. But Rogers' one Oscar wasn't one for her skills in her tap shoes. She actually snagged the lauded award for her role in the now often forgotten drama, and notably not musical, Kitty Foyle.
You know what I think? I think you're wrong. I remember you using those same words before.
Rogers plays the titular role, a woman stuck between two men, one rich and one not. She has an astounding amount of honor in the role, and it's a joy to watch her show off what a wonderful actor she is, even when the music stops.
Because I've always had a funny idea that I'm just as good as they are.
Just as good. You're so far above them that they can't touch you with a 10-foot pole.
Number 5, Carrie Grant, Penny Serenade.
I can't believe it yet, Julie. Imagine them picking me.
Well, you're able, Roger. You have ability. Anybody can see that.
Carrie Grant is one of the most well-regarded actors of the classic era. The man made so many movies, it's practically impossible for anyone to have seen them all. When it comes to ticking a Grant movie off your list, however, might we recommend Penny Serenade?
Would be nice to dance to.
It is.
What's on the other side?
Well, it's another new one.
Back in the 1940s, the actor was nominated for an Oscar for this performance. But today, when we think of him, we often think of movies like The Philadelphia Story and Bringing Up Baby. While we love those collaborations with Katharine Hepburn, Grant's dramatic partnership with Irene Dunne was just as bright. Indeed, the pair excel in this melodrama about a couple struggling to raise their child.
She asked me for a quarter, and I wouldn't let her have it. And she asked me to take her to the movies, and I said, no, run along, I'm too busy.
I know. It was the same with me.
Number 4, Gregory Peck, The Boys from Brazil.
You have it within you to fulfill ambitions 1,000 times greater than those of which you presently dream.
Throughout the 1940s, 50s, and even into the 60s, you couldn't get much more famous than Gregory Peck. The actor was well known for playing morally righteous heroes, such as those in films like To Kill a Mockingbird. But in 1978, an older Peck decided to play against type and genre.
Your operation has been cancelled. Mine continues. Heil Hitler.
The Boys from Brazil is a science fiction film where Peck plays the role of none other than Josef Mengele. For those of you who don't know, Mengele was a Nazi who did terrible experiments on those imprisoned at Auschwitz. Despite the massive play against type, Peck delivers a truly harrowing performance.
He betrayed me! He betrayed you!
Number 3, Vivian Lee, Waterloo Bridge. Today, Vivian Lee is so synonymous with her role as Scarlett O'Hara, it's almost hard to imagine her in any other role. But throughout her career, Lee took on a number of other roles that all deserve their due.
You know, I have a feeling that from now on, everything's going to take a turn for the better. I'm sure it is.
Waterloo Bridge is perhaps the project of hers that deserves the most flowers it doesn't usually receive today. Starring opposite Robert Taylor, Lee is absolutely magnetic in this romantic drama.
I loved you. I've never loved anyone else. I never shall. That's the truth, Roy.
This was the star's first movie released after Gone with the Wind, and she's clearly out to prove her prowess in that epic was no mistake. Watching her command the screen, it's easy to see why it was one of her favorites of her own movies.
And do you think you'll remember me now?
I think so. I think so. For the rest of my life.
Number 2, Jean Arthur, The More the Merrier.
Hope I haven't upset your routine here.
Just stick to the schedule, that's all I ask.
When it comes to comedy, Jean Arthur practically had the market cornered during the classic Hollywood era. The actress successfully made the transition from silent films to talkies, and some of her movies have gone down in history as being among the best. Funnily enough, of all of her works that we know today, one that isn't quite as remembered is also the one that earned her a Best Actress Oscar nomination.
Don't
don't you shush me. You've been shushing me for 22 months now. You've shushed your last shush.
In The More the Merrier, Arthur plays Connie Milligan, a woman who finds herself rooming with a retired millionaire and military man. Naturally, Arthur is fantastic in the role of a woman thrown into a hilariously impossible situation.
Well, I told you that I... Now, look, you don't think that I'm going to get... All right, stay. For just 1 week.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Andy Griffith, a face in the crowd. That's not the Andy Taylor we know.
If I ask them, they gotta come. Maybe they'd be afraid not to come. I could murder them like this.
Myrna Loy, Libeled Lady, an oft-forgotten Myrna Loy and William Powell collaboration.
Oh, but it's all right. I made an honest man of him. Oh, dear, don't forget the letter.
Lauren Bacall, Key Largo, the most underrated of the Bogey and Bacall films.
Maybe it is a rotten world, but a cause isn't lost as long as someone is willing to go on fighting.
Well, I'm not that someone.
But you are. You may not want to be, but you can't help yourself.
Eleanor Parker, Caged. The Baroness from The Sound of Music proves what she can do.
From now on, what's in it for me is all that matters. You did your best, and where did it land you? You can't lick the system.
Lana Turner, The Bad and the Beautiful. Turner shines in one of Vincent Minnelli's non-musicals.
Oh, let's have our party, darling. We've got so much to celebrate. We'll ice the champagne, and we'll light the fire, and we'll put on the records and dance, and I'll help you pull yourself out of this.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Donna Reed, The Picture of Dorian Gray. If you're talking about Donna Reed today, you're likely talking about her sitcom or It's a Wonderful Life. You're probably not discussing the 1945 movie The Picture of Dorian Gray, but maybe you should be.
I was close by and came in for a moment. Found this old song in your piano bench is charming. So is the face that my uncle sketched on it.
Reed is Gladys, a love interest for the titular Dorian Gray. While her character may not be as important as some of the other roles on this list, what she does with the screen time she has is absolutely amazing.
If you had some great trouble, Dorian, I would want to share it.
If I were to marry you, it would be an incredible wickedness.
Is that a way of saying it? You don't love me?
She plays romance and tragedy with a deft hand. It's a Wonderful Life came out roughly a year later, proving that Reed was an actress at the top of her game.
Sir, by train, please.
A pox upon me for a clumsy lout. Your caboose, milady.
You may kiss my hand.
Which of these performances are you most intrigued by? Let us know in the comments.
Colonel, do you fully understand what it is that I have done?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.